Drill Sergeant Cruel slammed his fist against the control panel, cranking the gravity simulator to 3 times standard. The 9 cadets from various low-gravity worlds immediately dropped to their knees, faces contorted in agony as their bones threatened to snap under the new conditions. All except one. Cadet Jones, the human from Earth, classified as a Class 12 Deathworld, merely shifted his stance to accommodate the change, and then, most disturbingly, he smiled. "Find something amusing, Dirt Dweller?" Cruel's voice boomed through the training chamber. His 4 eyes narrowed to slits. "No, Sergeant," Jones replied, still maintaining that unnerving smile. Cruel had served as drill instructor at the Galactic Defense Academy for 27 cycles. In that time, he'd broken cadets from 73 different species. But humans were relatively new to the Galactic Union, and this was his first time training one. 5 laps around the facility. Full gear. Now, Cruel bellowed. The other cadets looked relieved as the gravity normalized, but their relief was short-lived as they struggled to lift their 40-kilogram packs. Jones hoisted his with one fluid motion and took off at a brisk pace. Drill Sergeant Vex sidled up to Cruel, mandibles clicking nervously. "That one concerns me." "It's just bravado," Cruel replied, though he didn't believe his own words. "Did you read the briefing on Earth?" Vex asked. Cruel had. Earth was an anomaly. Its high gravity, extreme temperature variations, toxic atmosphere components, and aggressive predators should have prevented intelligent life from developing. Yet somehow, humans had thrived there. When Jones returned from the run, he wasn't even breathing hard. The other cadets were still struggling to complete their second lap. "Water restriction for you, human. 3 days," Cruel announced. Standard procedure for breaking difficult cadets was to limit resources their species found precious. For most cadets, this was enough to instill the proper fear and respect. Jones simply nodded. "Yes, Sergeant." 3 days later, while the other cadets were at mess, Cruel summoned Jones to his office. "Your water ration restriction ends today. Have you learned your lesson about proper attitude, Cadet?" "Yes, Sergeant," Jones replied, but that smile flickered again. Medical Officer Trill entered with a datapad. "Sergeant, I have the human's vitals from the restriction period. And he's fine. Better than fine. His body adjusted to conserve water. His cellular structure actually changed slightly to retain moisture more efficiently." Cruel's ridged scales flared in alarm. "That's impossible. Apparently not for humans. Their homeworld has such varied climates that their bodies evolved extreme adaptability," Trill explained. The next day, Cruel assigned Jones to the Toxic Atmosphere Chamber, a training module designed to teach cadets to quickly don respiratory equipment when exposed to non-breathable atmospheres. The chamber would fill with a harmless but foul-smelling gas that caused extreme discomfort. "Mask malfunction," Cruel announced when Jones' equipment mysteriously failed to seal properly. "Adapt, Cadet." The human's eyes watered as the gas filled the chamber, but he simply took shallow breaths and continued the exercise. Later, Medical Officer Trill reported that Jones' lung capacity had temporarily decreased, allowing him to minimize exposure while maintaining function. Desperate, Cruel assigned the human to overnight sentry duty in the cryogenic simulation chamber. The temperature was set just above what would cause tissue damage for humans. When morning came, Jones was found alert at his post, having constructed a rudimentary insulating shelter from his limited equipment. "Their planet has regions that regularly drop below freezing," Vex whispered. "He's used to this." After 2 weeks of increasingly difficult punishments, all met with that same unsettling smile. Cruel called an emergency meeting with the other drill sergeants. "We tried everything: extreme gravity, temperature variations, sleep deprivation, isolation. Nothing breaks in," Cruel said, pacing nervously. "It gets worse," Vex added. "The other cadets are starting to look up to him. Yesterday, I overheard Cadet Rick asking him for advice on adapting to the heavy gravity training." "This is the problem with Deathworlders," Senior Surgeon Drex interjected. "What we consider punishment, they consider normal conditions." That smile, he's not being insubordinate. He's genuinely comfortable. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "The human isn't becoming broken by our academy," Tribble said quietly. "He's becoming stronger." That evening, Kroll reviewed the classified information about Earth that wasn't in the standard briefing. What he found disturbed him deeply. Humans didn't just survive on their deadly world, they deliberately subjected themselves to harsher conditions for recreation. They called it sports and endurance training. Some even climbed frozen mountains with minimal equipment, simply because the mountains existed. When Jones smiled during punishments, it wasn't defiance, it was recognition. The conditions that the Galactic Defense Academy considered harsh enough to break a cadet's spirit were practically identical to what humans called basic training on Earth. The next morning, Krill approached Jones during drills. "Cadet Jones, why do you smile when given punishments?" Jones stood at attention. "Permission to speak freely, Surgeon?" "Granted." "It reminds me of home, Surgeon. The challenges here, they're familiar. On Earth, we have a saying, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Every time you increase the gravity or lower the temperature, my body adapts. It's how we evolved." Kroll nodded slowly. "I'm reassigning you, Cadet. You'll be assisting Drill Surgeon Vex with Training Squadron Beta." "Sir, we've been approaching this wrong. Deathworlders don't need to be broken. They need to be understood. And perhaps—" Kroll paused, his scales shifting to a thoughtful blue. "Perhaps the rest of our cadets need to learn what it means to have the resilience of a human." As Jones walked away to his new assignment, Kroll couldn't help but notice the smile had finally vanished, replaced with something far more valuable in a galactic defense officer: purpose. The Academy's training protocols were rewritten that cycle, and in the decades that followed, the human standard became legendary across the galaxy, a testament to the unexpected gift that Deathworlders brought to the stars.